Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer, Wonder Girl, helping you to live in tune with the natural cycles of the moon. This is your astrology horoscope for the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, which occurs on Friday, November 19th, 2021 at 3:57 a.m. Eastern Time or 1:57 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is really all about is about us being in the midst of big change in our lives currently, especially with relationships and money, in order to set them up in a big way for some new and different chapter in life, but us being very confused and unsettled perhaps by these changes and uncertain of how to get a handle on them, which we're going to need here to figure out, and which I'm going to have some tips here on how to handle. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please stay tuned. Before I hop into it though, I did just want to note that I am back on Instagram. I took like a 2-year hiatus while I just figured some stuff out with my business and myself, because starting my business 4 or 5 years ago has really thrown just me for a loop and really shown where all my weaknesses are in terms of self-confidence. So I took a break for 2 years, but I'm back now on Instagram posting just, thoughts and extra stuff on the astrology. So please feel free to follow me there. My handle is at Wonder Girl Astro. I also wanted to note as well that I will be doing an Instagram live this Friday. I believe it's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. noon Pacific time, to talk about these eclipses with a friend of mine that I met from horoscope.com. So if you want to check that out and see me live there and ask me some questions, feel free to do that as well. I've never done an Instagram live before, but Nara, who I'm doing it with, is going to show me the ropes. So I look forward to seeing you there. If you have any specific questions after this video that still linger, please drop those questions. I might even say on Instagram or in the comments here so that I can better figure out what to address and what to talk about with Nara in that live. So that's it. Now let's go ahead and let's hop in. In order to get started talking about this full moon lunar eclipse, what I like to do first is just place it on the chart so that you can see what it is that I'm referring to and follow along with me. So let's do that now. First, we have to identify the full moon. Here's the moon in this chart in Taurus, 27 degrees, and it's exactly opposite here, the sun in Scorpio. When the moon opposes the sun, that is what's called a full moon. And we do have the moon and the sun here very close to the nodal axis. The moon is near the north node and the sun is near the south node. And when we have a full moon or a new moon, but in this case a full moon this close to the nodal axis, it does make it an eclipse. And in this case, it's a lunar eclipse because it's a full moon. Okay, now I should note the north node is in a different sign than the actual moon itself. So it's not a total eclipse. This one is partial. But to me, that doesn't really matter in terms of the astrology. An eclipse is an eclipse, an eclipse. So that's the way I'm going to interpret it. Now, what are full moons? Let's start there all about. Well, full moons are all about stepping into something that we've been working towards for quite some time and really completing something so that we can put our attention elsewhere eventually at the next new moon. Not only are full moons about us stepping into something and completing something that we've been working towards for quite some time, but it's also about illuminations too, bringing things to light, especially because that's when the moon is the brightest in the sky, bringing things to light about our situation and getting more understanding about what is going on. Okay, now with this being an eclipse, that basically just superpowers it. So it just makes it a very big culmination of some sort, or a very significant one in our lives, and a very big or significant illumination, realization, or understanding that we may be having as well. Okay, what are we stepping into or starting to realize in a big and significant way at this time? Well, in order to tell you more about that, I now have to look at the sign that the moon is in, which in this case is Taurus. So what is that about? Well, Taurus is a lot about stability, if you will, stability and security. So I think what's going on at this full moon lunar eclipse is that we're really in a big way trying to step into more stability and more security in life and where it is. And I think in a new chapter in life that I've been talking about for quite some time, so that it can feel a little bit more together. Not only are we trying to step into more stability and security, but remember, with the full moon being about illumination, we're trying to understand too how to do that. and how to bring that together. Okay, in addition to Taurus being about stability and security, I think it's also too about confidence, as well, being a Venus ruled sign, and about our sense of self. So not only is this full moon lunar eclipse about us really trying to create more stability and security in our lives as we move forward and understand how to do that, but it's also about us too trying to be more confident in our situations and in our experiences and what we're working through too, and understand how to increase more of our self-worth as we move forward. Okay, not only that, but Taurus to me also has a lot to do with our values and our needs as well. So not only is this full moon about all those things I already described, us trying to be more stable and more secure and more confident in our situations, but I think it's also us trying to realign a lot of our situations more towards our values and what's important to us, and to the essentials, to what the situation actually needs in order for us to, do I want to say, have a fertile place to grow, with Taurus having a lot to do with fertility, being an earth sign, also ruled by Venus here. So I think those are the main themes that are going on at this time. Okay. Yes. Now, before I move forward to tell you more about that theme in particular and how it's affected by all the other aspects that are going on and how it might change, you know me, I do like to go back in time before I go forwards in order to give you more of the context of how we got here. So I want to do that now, especially because I know that a lot of you like that. I do that in my videos. Okay, in order to give you the context, what I've been doing over the course of the past few moon videos, if you've been watching, is going back to the last solar eclipse, which was in Gemini in June. But I think I actually want to go back even further than that, to the solar eclipse before that, that was in Sagittarius last year, December of 2020. And I want to go back to that one because I think that was actually a bit more significant than the solar eclipse that happened in Gemini in June, weirdly enough. And because we are coming up to the final eclipse in Gemini and Sagittarius next at that new moon that's about to come up after this, which is going to kind of bookend a lot of these things. So I'm actually going to go back to December of 2020 at that solar eclipse, which is like right about here in Sagittarius. Now, before I do that, though, I do want to note this is going to take me some time. It's 12. I'm about to cover like 12 months. So it's going to take me a minute, but I hope the payoff is worth it. So let's do that now. What was going on in December of 2020, which was December of last year? Well, in my opinion, we were starting to step into a new, different, and better, and I think more blessed chapter of life here, away from a lot of the hardships of the past few years and decades and of the trauma and abuse of the past few years and decades. I also do believe that this new beginning, a new chapter in life that came in December of 2020 was actually probably a result of something that happened months prior in September and October here around Libra season that kind of tricked us or motivated us to get to this new start here as we move forward, which I do like a lot. I should also note as well that not only did December of 2020, in my opinion, bring the very beginnings of some new, different, and better chapter in life away from trauma of the past, but it was the very beginning, small beginnings of a new chapter in life that I think is going to be with us for at least another like 15, 20, 35 years after that, until the next Saturn and Pluto conjunction happens. Okay, that then leads me to the next month after that. We had a new moon here in Capricorn in January of 2020. And this new moon was a hard one by the aspects it was making. And I guess you could say too, because it was in Capricorn, which is a Saturn ruled sign. So what was that about? Well, in January, that was 2021. In January of 2021, we then tried to take this new chapter in life that had just recently started to arrive, and we tried to structure it and manage it better so that it could be more seen and last the test of time. But as we tried to structure this new chapter in life, we realized in January that something wasn't right. And what wasn't right was, I think, internal. It was an inside job. We had a low self-esteem because of all that we'd been through, that we weren't confident enough to fully embrace the new chapter in life. We had a lot of also self-sabotaging tendencies and feelings of victimization, I think, based on what we had been through in the past too. And we also, I think, maybe had some addictions and some beliefs that weren't in the place they needed to be in. And I think we also too had some things in our life still from the past, the old chapter that wasn't meant for the new chapter, that we hadn't really fully cut out in the way that it is that we really needed to in order to move on. Because of that, we then get to the next new moon, which was in February of 2021 in Aquarius right here. What was that about? Well, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and it's about breaking free from things. So I think that's what happened in February of 2021. We tried to cut out all of these lack of good beliefs, this low self-esteem, this self-sabotage, these feelings of victimization, and these people and things from the past that are not meant for our new life anymore. We tried to cut them out more so that we could embrace this new start that was trying to come. Okay. And I think in February of 2021, we were actually able to do that, even if that was a challenge. That then leads us to the next new moon, which was in Pisces, the middle of March of this year, 2021. What is that about? That to me was a good new moon. And Pisces is about healing and peace and release. So what that means to me is that in March of 2021, we did cut out those beliefs and those people and those things from the past that were keeping us down. And as a result, March of 2021, we were healing more and feeling more at peace with our situation and with the new chapter in life as we moved forward. That then leads me to the next new moon, which was what, April? February, March, April. Yes. April of 2021 in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the astrological new year. So what was this about to me? This was about us finally embracing more fully that new beginning that came in December at that solar eclipse in Sagittarius. Embracing more fully the new beginning and really more fully starting the new chapter that had already arrived as we move forward. Not only was it about that, but I think too it was about us negotiating and working out more of the details about that new chapter in life so that it could fully arrive. That then leads me to the next new moon, which was in Taurus a month later in May of 2021. What was that about? Well, Taurus is a fixed sign about sustaining things. So I think what happened in May of 2021 is that we then tried to sustain this new chapter in life that was more fully here, that we'd begun to work more of the details out about. Okay, but as we went trying to sustain this new chapter in life, we had what? Mercury go retrograde. We had Mercury go retrograde around a full moon that same month, May of 2021, and around the time I think we had some eclipses going on in Sagittarius. So even though in May of 2021, we were sustaining some kind of new chapter in life and more of the details about it, I think we realized that there was some part of the detail as we were working things out and something from the past still that had not been communicated properly or done properly with that Mercury retrograde. So because we were in a new chapter in life and we were working out the details in May, but something from the past still was not right, had not been thought about properly, communicated properly, worked out properly. We then, at the next new moon here in June of 2021, a solar eclipse in Gemini, have these conversations about the past to rework and rethink and reassess these old things to more fully get more things up to speed. Okay, and I do believe that we were able to do that at that solar eclipse in Gemini in June. And because we were able to get some things from the past more up to speed now, new life, let's go, we then were able, I think, to start to settle into a new chapter in life and also Gemini, make it more familiar so that it actually felt a little bit more a part of ourselves and our lives as we move forward. Okay, because we worked through that and we're making it more familiar, we then get to July of 2021, we had a new moon in Cancer. What is Cancer all about? It's about grounding. It's about foundations, especially internal foundations. So what that means to me is that in July of 2021, we tried to go inwards in order to more fully ground this new chapter in life so that it would continue now to take hold and to grow and to blossom in a healthier way now that we fixed a lot of this old stuff from here on out. Okay, and I believe we did that. That then leads me to the next new moon, which was in Leo, right about here, the middle of August, I believe, of this year, 2021. What is Leo all about? It's about happiness, joy, fun. So what we tried to do in August of 2021 is now be happier and have more fun in this new chapter in life. Now that we kicked some old stuff, bringing us down over and over again, worked out some of the details, and we're starting to finally settle into it and ground it more and more and more. And I do believe that in August of 2021, we got some great ideas about how we can be happy in this new chapter in life that I really do think were beautiful and powerful and very positive. Okay, that then leads me to the next new moon, which we had here in Virgo in September of 2021. Okay, what was that about? Well, Virgo is a lot about our habits and our daily routines. So what I think happened in September 2021 is that we tried to do these happy things that we just dreamed up about our new chapter of life on the day to day in a more habitual and regular way, and move forward on that. And I do believe that as we tried to do that, we had issues in September of this year. That's because Mercury was going retrograde. Started to go retrograde in Libra. What were our issues here? More fully doing what we love and what makes us happy on the day to day now that we're in a new chapter in life. Well, Mercury was retrograde in Libra. Libra is about relationships. It was still relationship stuff, strangely, that hadn't been worked out, that we were still doing according to an old paradigm or still doing according to old things that weren't right. Not only was it relationship stuff that was preventing us from being happy, but I think too, it was still our mindset and our beliefs still stuck on old things from an old traumatic chapter of life. Too, that wouldn't let us rest and be happy. And I think too, as our division of time and resources were a bit off, we were devoting our time and resources to hard, stressful things that we still hadn't kicked instead of these better things as well. That was hard. Okay. Because of that, we then get the next new moon, which was in Libra here in October. All right. Where are we now? Yes. October of 2021. What was that new moon about? That new moon in Libra, conjunct Mercury, was about us working out those blockages, was about us fixing the things with relationships that weren't making us happy, fixing the things with our mindset that wasn't allowing us to be happy, and fixing things with the division of our time and resources that wasn't working either. And I do believe that excuse me, that in the October, at that new moon in Libra, we were able to accomplish that. Which then leads me to the next new moon that we had a month later in November of 2021 in Scorpio. What was that about? Well, Scorpio is about change and transformation, both internal and external with relationships and money. So what I believe happened at that new moon in Scorpio in November is that we finally fixed these things, keeping us from being in a new chapter in life and doing it effectively and from enjoying it. And because we finally fixed those things, we now feel in November like we are transforming inwardly in our soul to finally accept, be, and live a new chapter in life now, and to embody the new chapter in life more fully. Not only at that new moon in Scorpio did we feel finally like we can more fully embody the new chapter in life after fixing all this other stuff, but we also felt too like finally we can now change relationships and money externally more fully to match this new version of ourselves without the old mindsets, without these old things in the past bringing us down, now that we have a more strong hold and a more sensible approach now here to this new and different chapter of life that is here. Okay. Excuse me. And I do believe that over the course of the past 2 weeks, because that was 2 weeks ago, we have done that. We have been able to feel more changed and transformed to be in a new chapter of life, and started to change things externally with relationships as money. Well, now to fully bring both the inner and the outer together, and to complete, this is important, to complete the beginning, not the whole new chapter. The whole new chapter of life is going to take another 20, 25, 30, 35 years to finish. So we're not feeling like we're completing the entire new chapter in life, but we're making changes here to complete the foundation, to complete the beginning, setting up the beginning of the new chapter in life as we move forward. Okay. And because we've done that now at this new moon, this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus here, which is what this video is for. We're really trying to stabilize ourselves and our situations now that we are in a new chapter in life and have begun to make more effective changes, more in alignment with who we are and who we're becoming. Not only is this full moon lunar eclipse now, of which this video is for, about us trying to stabilize ourselves within the midst of great change now that is occurring and has occurred to move us forward, but it's also about us trying to be more confident in our abilities to work with it and to handle it and to get better things from here on out that are going to be more fruitful and more abundant. Not only is the full moon lunar eclipse about that, stabilizing the change, being more confident in what has already changed and what we're working towards, but I think too it's also about us trying to figure out what is essential in this new chapter of life, and what was the most important to us and what we value the most, in order to even more solidify this new chapter and make it something that's really going to resonate truly and deeply with us as we move forward. Okay. And I think that's it. All right. Sorry about my voice there during that. But that was a bit. Hold on. I'm going to take a drink of something really quick before I move on. Okay. So that's what's happening there. Because that was a lot, I'm just going to repeat that one more time before I move forward. What I think is going on, or has been going on, and is the big picture of this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus here, is that we have been trying to change our lives for quite some time to be something new, different, and better, to set us up for the next 35 years. It's been a little bit hard for us to get to a new and better chapter of life because we've had a lot of old things that have been bringing us down, old habits, thoughts, mindsets, and relationships. However, we have recently fixed all of those things and overcome all of those things so that the new chapter in life can more fully download and can more fully the beginning stages of it complete. And because the new chapter in life now is finally downloading and completing and more fully transforming like a phoenix in order to embody it, this new full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is about us really trying to stabilize ourselves and our situations amidst this great change, and to be more confident with what is occurring and with how we need to handle it next, and to make it more of what truly resonates with our value systems and what we need at this time in order to solidify it even more so that it can last long term as we move forward. Okay, that's it. All right. Because I've now given you the big picture about what this full moon is about, I'm now going to go more into the specific details about how this may play out on the day-to-day. And to do that, I'm going to go through a good bit of the aspects here that this full moon lunar eclipse is making. But in order to do that, I'm going to start first by placing it on the chart. We've got the moon here in Taurus, opposite the sun here in Scorpio, near the nodes, the full moon lunar eclipse. What do I want to look at first? Well, I'm going to look at the hard aspects first, because there are definitely a lot of good things going on with this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, but definitely a lot of challenging things that I think are concealing the good. So we're going to talk about that. The first thing I think I want to mention here is the fact that this full moon lunar eclipse is opposite Mercury here, which is close to the sun here in Scorpio. What is that about? Well, this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is really trying to stabilize our life amidst great change, to get us on some new chapter and to be more confident with what we have already done, and to work with it in a better way. But that is difficult with this opposition. It is difficult for us to stabilize and be confident with what we've done. Why is it difficult? It's difficult because because these changes that we're trying to stabilize are still happening. They're not in the past tense. They're still going on. It's easier to stabilize a situation when it's already occurred, but we're having difficulty because still changes everywhere happening now in big ways in our life. Not only is it hard for us to stabilize our situations because big changes are happening, but also too because, and Scorpio is about change, but also too because I think there are more changes that we also still want to make, with Scorpio also having to do with our deepest wants and desires that we're still thinking about here as well. So I think that that's a bit difficult too about what's happening. Not only that, but I should note that Mercury is in a trine here too at the same time to Neptune in Pisces. So not only is it really hard for us to stabilize our lives and be confident with what we're doing because changes are still happening in our lives and because there's still more changes that we want to make, but also because these changes that are going on still feel a bit nebulous. They still feel a bit hazy. They don't feel clear yet. They don't feel definite. They don't feel finite. They still feel a little bit all over the place or a little bit up in the air. Not only could that be a bit hard too, but we do have Mars here in Scorpio at this time, also opposite Uranus and Taurus. What is that about? Unexpected events. Uranus is about the unexpected. So not only are we having difficulty stabilizing our situations, being confident and being abundant because changes are still going on, they're still happening. And because there's more changes we want to make that still feel nebulous and out there and a bit confusing, but also because a lot of this is happening and has already happened very suddenly and very unexpectedly in a way we were planning for. We didn't expect things to change already in the way that it is that they already have in order for us to move forward. So I think that that's a bit hard here. That's going on. Not to mention, for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, these changes could also be very difficult too. They could be not what you were hoping they would be as well. So for some of you, that's also part of the challenge here too, especially because oppositions are a hard thing and Uranus is a bit unpredictable and Mars too isn't always the best. So there could be being considered a malefic planet. So there could also be things like that going on as well. Not only is it hard for us to stabilize our situations because of all of those things I just mentioned in the middle of great change and more changes yet to come, and it's very confusing and nebulous because we're in the midst of it and it's happening unexpectedly, and for some, not all, some of us in not so pleasant ways, but also because of one other thing. This full moon here, lunar eclipse in Taurus, is making a trine to Pluto in Capricorn. And trines to me do indicate things happening very quickly here, especially with the Pluto influence, which is correlated to all these planets in Scorpio. So another thing that's also part of the issue is that things are happening fast too. It's not just we're in the middle of change and the change is taking a sweet time like it's done, for many months and years prior to this. It's no, we're in the middle of change and more changes yet to come. It's very sudden and unexpected. It's very confusing and nebulous and all over the place, and it's coming at us fast. Straight no chaser, right? It's coming at us very, very quickly here in order for us to move forward. Okay. Not only that, sorry to lay it on thick here, but there's also one other alignment that I think I want to mention too. There's a few more that are a bit challenging as well. We've also got this full moon lunar eclipse here making a square to Jupiter in Aquarius. Now, I typically like Jupiter. If you've watched me in the past, but I'm not going to interpret this too great because of a lot of other things that are going on, and because Jupiter can be sometimes Jupiter doesn't always have to go positively. It just depends on your relationship to it. So what is this bringing? I think Jupiter is bringing a lot of big questions. Jupiter is about wisdom, but it's also very philosophical. It's bringing a lot of questions too. And a lot of questions about our future with it being in Aquarius and about what's next. So I think that that's also very difficult here. Again, trying to stabilize our situations and be more confident, but it's hard. So many big changes happening here and have yet to happen that are occurring very suddenly and unexpectedly in unpredictable ways that we weren't planning on, and that feel confusing and nebulous and out there and are happening very fast and that are bringing up big questions that we don't have the answers to, more questions than we have answers to about our life and what this all means and what's next for our future and about how things are going to come together. Okay, on top of that, we also do have Venus here, which just recently entered pre-retrograde shadow in the past day or so before this eclipse occurred. And this is also not that great because it's a planet that's retrograde, right? Or about to go. It's about to go retrograde. It's not retrograde yet, but about to go in the next few weeks, but slowing down now. And when planets slow down, they're not functioning up to speed, right? That's a safe assessment to make. And they don't function as strongly or as effectively as they would otherwise. What is Capricorn about where Venus is in? Capricorn is a lot about managing things and structuring things, being an earth sign ruled by Saturn, the top of the chart. So Not only is all this stuff going on that we're trying to stabilize here, that's coming at us very quickly, very unexpectedly, bringing up more questions than answers, but it's also really hard for us to get control on it, if you will, and to manage it and to structure it and to organize it in a way that's going to be effective and in a way that's going to work, Capricorn, to put our life in the direction, Capricorn being a very public part of the chart, the highest part of the chart, that it is that we want it to go in here. Okay, which can create, I should note, a lot of weird emotional responses, especially with a lot of the Scorpio stuff. It can create, not for all of you, but it can create just some internal frustration, or it can also create arguments as well with other people too, especially because there are so many things going on that are so important to the next chapter of our life, and so few answers here about how to handle it and how to work with it. Okay, not only can this create arguments or internal frustration, but I should also note too, it can create some weird actions too, not only internal and verbal stuff, thoughts, feelings, frustrations, but actions too, especially with Venus still kind of close here to a square to Chiron, and with the moon being in Aries close to Chiron around the time that Venus entered pre-retrograde shadow, okay? And it can bring some weird actions, especially too because Aries is a Mars ruled sign, which has to do with action and initiating things. What kind of weird actions can it bring? Well, the weird actions that I think it's bringing is us controlling the situation too much, forcing the situation to be something that it's not really meant to be. With the Aries not knowing how to act and Chiron being uncomfortable, and with the Venus now retrograde and with all these intense emotions, this can lead to us trying to over control a situation. Us saying, this change and chaos is too much. It can only be this way. It has to work out now. You have to do this. We have to get it in order. If it doesn't bring that, then it can bring the opposite of that. We're not being serious. We're not trying to control the situation. We're being too impulsive. Aries can be a bit impulsive. Even some of the Scorpio stuff can be a bit impulsive too. With both Aries and Scorpio being Mars ruled signs, and with Mars now being opposite Uranus, it can create a bit of impulsiveness. We can say, forget control, forget managing the situation, forget being serious. Let's just do whatever. What's a free for all? Let's just do whatever to fix this and get it over with and move on. It can create situations like that can also occur too. Not only can it create that, but with the Capricorn influence, and Capricorn to me is a lot about bureaucracy, corporations, red tape. It can also too create us skipping necessary steps that we need in order to move forward as well. That can also be a bit hard here and making us feel uncertain here of what to do next and very, very anxious and very, very nervous. Okay. There we go. So what is the way to handle all of this? What is the way to handle all of this? And what is the message of all these crazy feelings that are going on here? Well, the message is, of course, the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, I think, being the major key here of what needs to be done. Why is this the major key? Well, this is the first eclipse that we're having here in Taurus in 9 years. And it's the first eclipse that we're having here in Taurus near the North Node in 18 years. The 9 years ago, the South Node was in Taurus. So it's the Taurus stuff that really needs to be focused on. Not only is it the Taurus stuff that needs to be focused on here because it's the first eclipse, and it is an eclipse, and it's an eclipse we haven't had here in a while, but also because the moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon likes to be there, and when things are hard, don't you want to focus on what's good? Don't you want to focus on what's going to work and what's going to help when you've got all these other things going on? So to me, that is the answer. What is the answer? Now, let's explain Taurus. What is that? Well, Taurus, I should note, is a little bit of a slower sign. Why is it a slower sign? It's fixed. It's a fixed sign. The fixed signs take longer to do things because they stay fixed in things and they want to work things out. Not only that, but it's an earth sign. And earth signs to me are also slower. Why? Because you're dealing with earth. You're dealing with physical reality. And when you're dealing with physical reality, things just take longer. When you're dealing with thoughts and emotions, you can just make things up, right? You can just make things up and you can paint it and create it and anything can happen. But when you're dealing with reality, not anything can happen. Only certain things can happen in a certain time. So what is the message here? The message here is to try to slow down these situations, okay? Not to slow them down 100% until they're nothing. Not to do that. Not to over control the slowing down of the situation, right? Because there is a tendency to go to extremes here. Just to slow it down a little bit and to buy yourself some time. You know, hey, let's pace ourselves. Hey, can I have some time? Can I have a few days, you know, to kind of figure things out? Can I have a few hours, right? To think things through. You know, that's a big key here, to slow these situations down so that you can have some time to think, and so that the emotions, the anxiety and the anxiousness or the frustration, if you're getting that, and the anger can come down to a little bit of a better level here. Okay. Not only is that part of what is important here too, but I also do consider Taurus as a very sensible sign. To me, Taurus is very practical, salt of the earth, of course, being an earth sign and being ruled by Venus. So not only is there a need to slow down these situations, not 100%, not over control the slowing, but just to slow it down a little bit, to give yourself some time. I think there's also a need here as well to be a little bit more sensible here about your approach, and a little bit more practical about what will actually work. What will actually work, especially with the Capricorn stuff too, with Venus starting to go in pre-retrograde shadow here. What will actually work? Not what we want to happen. You know, Scorpio is a lot about our wants, but what is actually going to work here for our situation in order to give us the best result, and also what our situation needs. What does the situation need? You know, in order to work, in order to calm down, in order to be easier to handle and easier to manage. You know, I think there's also a need to do some of that as well. Okay. Not only is there a need to do some of that too, to focus, to slow down, to be more sensible, and to focus on what the situation needs instead of what you want to occur. But I think there's also a need to do less, not to do nothing at all, but to do a little bit less, if you will, because Taurus gets a reputation, I always say, for like being a little bit lazy. But in this case, I think the laziness is good here. We need to do a little bit less here with these situations, because a lot of times we think we need more than we actually need, right? What we really need to live is not really that much, you know, if we want to think about that, because Taurus is a lot about survival and our needs to survive. And when it comes to surviving, like really all you need is like food, shelter, and clothes on your back. You don't need a whole bunch of clothes. You don't need a whole bunch of food. You know, you don't need a whole bunch of stuff, but you do need a little bit of it in order, or enough of it in order to move forward. So I think that's also part of the message here too. What we really need to do at this full moon lunar eclipse is slow down the situations just a tad, be a little bit more sensible and realistic and practical here about what is going on and about what the situation actually needs, and to focus on what the situation needs and not what we want the situation to be. And not only to focus on what the situation needs, but to realize that the situation probably doesn't need as much as we think it does. It probably just needs just a little bit. All it needs is a little bit. It needs a lot less than we think it does in order to move things forward. Because if we think, this is important, if we think we need a lot, if we think we need to do a lot to bring things together, you're probably confusing needs with wants. If you think, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, I should, you know, you're probably confusing needs and wants. When it comes to this stuff that's you need to do, that's absolutely essential, it's really not that much. You just need to do a little bit here to just get things on a better track as you move forward, okay? Not only is there a need to focus on your needs and only on what's essential, and then not overdo and over push and overwork, but there's also, I think, a need with the Taurus influence to see your value and to see your worth and to hold firm to your values. Your core values, you know, and to me, core values are true yesterday, today, and tomorrow. There's a need to hold true, to understand what your core values are, to illuminate those, and to hold true to your core values, and to also illuminate and hold true to your value, your self-worth. I'm conflating the two together. I'm conflating values and value together, but to me, they're separate. There's a need to understand what your core values are and hold true to that, and also understand your value as a human and as an individual and hold true to that as well. Okay, that's going to be important. Here, why is that important? Well, because when we go too fast, and when we are not sensible, and when we confuse needs with wants, and when we do too much, and when we don't believe in our value, and when we don't hold true to our values, a lot can go wrong. We tend to overwork. We tend, right, to over control. We tend to overdo all this stuff. So I think that's what I want to say here is extremely key. And I should note too, because sorry, there's a point I'm trying to get at, I don't know how to segue into, but I want to note too that I think that that's a lot of our problems. You know, a few minutes ago, I said that part of our problems at this full moon lunar eclipse is that we're doing things too controlling, or the opposite, too fast and impulsive, or we're overlooking important steps. And I think part of the reason why we're doing things too fast and over controlling and overlooking important steps, sure, is because we need to slow these situations down and we need to get a handle on them. But I think there's also a lack of an awareness about our needs and about our values and about our core values and about what's essential and about our self-worth too, that is also causing the problems. Because when you know yourself and know what you're worth and know your values, you don't feel like you have to push and control as much. You don't feel like you have to push and control and force. You trust. You trust that things will come to you that are meant to come to you in their own time. And you trust that they'll come to you in the way they're meant to come to you too as things move forward. Not only when you're strong in your values and strong in your worth, do you fix a lot of these things. You fix the pushing and the weird behaviors and the weird emotions because you're in a place of trusting what will come to you when it will come to you, but also because you get in more of a place of surrender. Do I want to say that, especially with this full moon lunar eclipse, sextile Neptune in Pisces, you also come into a place in surrender to where if things are leaving your life, right? Because that could also happen at this full moon. There's great change to bring things in, but also to leave. So where if things are leaving your life, you also don't care. I mean, you care, but you also don't, right? Because you say, if it's leaving my life, it must not be true to my value. I have value. If it's leaving, it must not see my value. It can go. It can go and I can allow it to move forward. So I think there's also a message here that I want to bring forward. I don't know if I'm doing that good of a job at it right now, but that I want to say is that, maybe just to repeat, I think it's going to help me to bring it all together, is that what is going on here at this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is that we're trying to stabilize our situations and be confident as we complete some changes to get to a new chapter in life. But it's really hard for us to do that because so much change is happening so quickly, so unexpectedly here, and because there's still more we want to make, and because it feels a bit confusing, leading us to over control or be too impulsive or miss important steps. And so what we need to do in order to overcome that is to slow down, is to be more sensible and practical, and is to understand more of what the situation needs and not what we want it to be, and to focus more on the needs, and to hold more true to our value and our worth and our core values as we move forward. Because us doing that, slowing the situation down, being more practical, knowing our value and our worth and our core values, and sticking to that, and doing what the situation needs, and also doing a little and not a lot, because situations don't need a lot, is then I think going to help. It's going to help the weird reactions. And this is where I want to pick up. It's going to help the weird reactions. It's going to help the pushing too hard or forcing things or controlling stuff. It's going to fix that, because there's no longer going to be a need to push and control, because you're going to feel more together and more capable of handling it and more confident and have more of a knowledge of what the situation needs and of what is the most important to you as you move forward. Because a lot of times when we over control a situation and when we're too impulsive or forceful, it's not because that's what the situation needs. A lot of times when we over control a situation or push things or are too forceful, it's because of fear. It's because of fear that things aren't going to work out in the way that we need, or that we're not worthy of this, or that we aren't going to get it, or that it's not going to be what's important to us. We're worried that it's fear. Not only is it fear, usually it's trauma too from the past. And this new moon, this full moon, lunar eclipse in Taurus is saying you've learned now. You're getting too old for that. You're getting too old for that trauma and those fear-based actions. Look at how this past year has gone. This past year has been a huge learning curve. So the full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is saying stop falling back into fear-based trauma-based patterns of acting here, especially now that you know better and have spent the past year knowing better. See your worth, see your value. Don't force things, don't fight. If something wants to leave, let it leave. If something wants to come, let it come. You don't have to do a lot. You just have to be open to receive it and to allow it in and do simple, small things in order to move things forward. And I think, that's what we need to realize. Okay. But even though that I think is going to help. Okay. Even though that approach that I just gave you, slowing down, being more sensible and practical, focusing more on what the situation needs instead of what it wants, and being very clear about that, and doing a little instead of a lot, holding true to your values and at seeing your value, that even though that is good, okay, and even though that is going to fix the actions and the behaviors that you and other people might have to get it on a better trajectory, even though that is good, I want to be clear, that's not going to fix everything. Even though this different approach, that's what it is. It's a different approach to going about change and to going about life. Even though this different approach is good and what needs to happen for our situations, and is going to calm things down, and I think going to bring a sense of inner peace, it is not going to fix all our problems. That is because we still need a new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius to happen before we kind of figure out what's what and where all the chips are going to fall. It's also because this new moon solar eclipse in Sagittarius and a bunch of planets for Sagittarius season are going to square Neptune, which is also going to create some haze and confusion. And it's also because Venus is going to be retrograde now until the end of February, I think, next year. And then Mercury is going to go retrograde right after until March. And then we're at the end of the astrological year and we need to wait till Aries season. And then there's a next solar eclipse 6 months from now in Taurus. So even though I've given you all these tips now about how to deal with this crazy change, that's better. That's going to help you learn the lessons of the past, overcome trauma, be stronger in yourself, and have a more peaceful approach to going about things. It is not going to resolve everything overnight. Just because you do what I say, it's not all of a sudden tomorrow you're going to finish making these changes and all these changes are going to calm down and all these unexpected events are going to go away. No, they're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming for at least another 2 weeks, I think, possibly 4 weeks, but I definitely think another 2 weeks, okay? They're going to keep coming, and they're still going to be confusing. So this new approach is not going to stop the change. It's not going to make it less confusing. It's just going to make you better at handling it, which is all that's needed. Since we're talking about needs, that's all that's needed. Since Taurus is about needs, you don't need to know 5 steps forward. You don't need to know 10 steps forward. You don't need to know your 6-step plan for your future. Sometimes all you need is your next step. What's your next viable step? Your next viable step that will actually work. Your next best step. That's all you need. This approach I gave you isn't going to solve all your problems. No, it's just going to make the process easier. And it's just going to give you more clarity, not about 100 steps down the line, but about your one next best step, or your 2. Because North Node's still in Gemini, the twins are your 2 next best steps that it is that you need, which is going to make all the difference. Okay. I also want to note as well, while we're on that subject, this new approach that you're getting during this time period to change, and this new approach to change that you're getting that's more healed, really, and that's based on strength and confidence here, and self-worth and stability, and on your core values and on your needs and not your wants. That approach, even if it doesn't feel like it right away, is going to help to solidify this new chapter in life I've been talking about for quite some time, and to make it more firm, if you will, and to make it more solid, and to make it more seeable, especially 6 months from now. Could be beforehand, March, April, May of next year. Okay. Why is this approach going to be good now in the next 2 weeks, going to be good now and in the next few weeks to feel better, and also be good in the next 4, 5, 6 months to help solidify the new chapter in life? Well, what I think the new chapter in life has been missing, if I can say that we've been trying to set up since the last solar eclipse in December of 2020, what I think that new chapter has been missing is sensibility. I think the new chapter in life has also been missing a little bit of slowness, has also been missing our core values and what is really important to us. Sagittarius, where the last solar eclipse was, not the last one, the last one that was about to complete with the next solar eclipse in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is not a practical sign, right? It's a fire sign. It's ruled by Jupiter. Sagittarius can have a bit of rose-colored glasses about things and is just excited about stuff. So I think part of the problem with really seeing a new chapter in life more fully and solidly take form over the course of the past few months, year or so, is that we haven't been that realistic about what's going on. We haven't been that sensible about it. We've been doing too much too soon, or in weird ways, or not doing things at all. It's just been very, very all over the place. And I think that, and we've been ignoring the really important stuff. And I think that this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is kind of helping us to calm down all this crazy stuff over the course of the past few months and years that hasn't been that great for us, so that we can actually start to create something that will work from here on out with a solid foundation. Like doing a bunch of things and throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall is fun and is useful. It's useful to learn more about yourself and to understand and to experiment. But throwing a bunch of things against the wall and just doing whatever is not conducive to something being very long lasting. And so I think that that's the other point that I want to make here, is that not only for the near future do we need to slow down and be more sensible and focus on the essentials and what we need and what's core to us, which for a lot of us means doing a lot less than what we were doing before. And not only is that going to help us in the next 4 weeks calm down and just feel better and figure out our 1 or 2 next best steps, but it's also going to help us more long term over the course of the next 5 or 6 months solidify a new chapter in life and make it more firm and more real and more workable, because we're finally thinking about the real things. We're finally thinking about the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that's actually important, especially with the Venus and Capricorn here, because we're finally thinking about what's actually going to work from here on out and what's not, and how it is or isn't going to work from here on out. Okay. So I think that's what I want to say there. Now, for some of you, to hop into a few other notes, this is going to be very good. For some of you, whatever changes are going on right now in your life are going to be like a friggin' dream come true, especially with the oppositions to Uranus. For some of you, these changes that are going on right now in your life are so beautiful. They may still feel a bit hazy and nebulous after this point. Once you get more, once you adopt some of these methods that I just mentioned, but they're going to be so good. And this energy of you slowing down is going to help you to solidify something good and make it even better and even more workable and more real. Not just good, but real. Okay? And solid from here on out. Now, for others of you, these changes that are going on are not that great. Right? I can't really say for sure based on the astrology what you're experiencing, but for some of you, these changes, especially because lunar eclipses are about fate and destiny, and what's written in the books of destiny for you that I don't know. Now, for others of you, this is going to be very challenging. What's going on at this time is not a dream come true. There are things that you thought you wanted, that thought were going to make you happy, that are now falling apart. The ending of a relationship, the ending of a business, the ending of a job, that could be very, very hard for you. And what that means too is that in order for you to deal with that and to figure out what's fully going on there, you need to slow down, be more sensible, focus on what the situation needs, and do a little bit less. Okay. And that as well is going to solidify the new chapter of life. And you slowing down and doing less, I should note, may mean sorry, there's a few different ways this can go. May mean that, and you slowing down and doing less may mean that the relationship or the thing is going to have to go, and may solidify the ending of that thing. It could revive it too, I should note. If something's ending, the slowing down could either solidify the ending of a hard thing or could help to revive it. But either way, if something challenging is going on in your life right now as a result of all of this, there's also a need to be slow and to be sensible and to let it be what it is and to not fight against it. And doing that is either going to help revive it come 5-6 months from now, or is going to make it leave and end permanently, because there's something very permanent. And I should know too, right? I should know too, if that's you, if you're getting the bad of this, that this new way can also help it survive permanently. Either way, there's a need to release attachment here and to stand in your worth regardless of what occurs to move forward, that I think is going to help. So I think that's what I'm going to say there. But I got a little bit ahead because it's an eclipse and there's so many things that are like colliding at eclipses and turning points and things like that. So I think that's why I got a little off track, but I'm just going to repeat that one more time and then try to get back on some kind of organized trajectory. So let's do that now. What I think is going on in this eclipse is that we're really trying to stabilize a new chapter in life that is finally more completely arriving here. Not only that, but we're trying to get more confident in this new chapter in life as well. But it's hard for us to stabilize and get confident in this new chapter in life because things are still changing and downloading about the new chapter. And because I think there are still more things that we want or need to change as well, which may come up suddenly and unexpectedly, and which is causing a lot of confusion and bringing a lot of things up in the air. Not only is it hard for us to stabilize our situations because of all of that, but it's also hard for us to stabilize our situations too, because it's all happening very, very quickly and bringing up a lot of questions about what is next that we don't have answers to, and making us very, very nervous, I should say, and anxious, either within ourselves or possibly even frustrated with other people here too. And because we are feeling all these uncomfortable things about these big changes that are coming here that are hard for us to get a handle on, we may be acting out in weird ways, being too controlling over the situation, or being too impulsive about the situation, or missing important steps. And because there's so much going on and it's hard to control it, and we're acting out in weird ways and very frustrated, there's a need to slow the situation down a little bit, to be more sensible and practical and realistic about what's going on here and what it needs. And not only to slow the situation down and to be more practical, but to be more honest with yourself about what you need versus what you want here, and about what your core values are so that you can get those met. Not only is there a need as well to do that, but I think to also do a little bit less and to stop over controlling and forcing things, which should naturally come as you figure some of this stuff out. And I think there's also a need too to stand in your self-worth and your power regardless of what occurs. And you doing all of that, slowing things down, being more sensible, realistic, focusing on the needs and not the wants, doing less, and standing in your power is then going to help you not to fully get all the answers in all of these situations, and not to fully know in finite, concrete ways what's happening, but to feel more at peace with the process and to learn your next one or two best viable options. Okay. And you adopting this approach and being more at peace with what's going on here and focusing on the one or two next viable step that the situation needs that resonates with your core values from a place of confidence and peace and healing is then going to help a new chapter in life solidify over the course of the next 4, 5, 6 months to become more complete, more solid, more structured, with a more firm foundation and more visible to the public eye, okay, and what you need. All right. And for some of you, these things that are going on at this time period are very, very beautiful. For some of you, these unexpected things and changes that are going on at this time still feel crazy and still feel coming at you fast and still feel confusing, but are a dream come true. And you slowing down and being more sensible about these things is going to help that dream come true actually work. That is going to help make the dream work. It's going to make the dream actually work in a realistic way that can last the test of time for many, 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 many years to come. Okay, which is going to be very beautiful. Now, for others of you, these big changes and these unexpected events that are going on at this time are not positive, are the opposite of a dream come true, are not good at all, and are very upsetting for you. And if that's you, and very chaotic. And if that's you, you also need to slow down, be more sensible, focus on what the situation needs, which may mean doing a lot less, and stand in your self-worth without having to prove your worth to anyone else. And you doing that is going to help you either fix whatever bad thing has come up over the course of the next 4, 5, 6 months to get it actually on a better trajectory, more long-term, that's going to last the test of time, or it's going to lead to a permanent ending. Maybe not right away, but over the course of the next 5, 6 months, it's going to lead to a permanent ending with whatever thing happened, or a permanent disappointment. It's going to lead to a permanent disappointment that you're going to have to, that's going to be locked in come next March, April, May, that you're going to have to live with from here on out. Okay. That catches me up. And if that's you, maybe I'll say that if that's you that's having a bad event happen at this time, that doesn't get revived in a healthier way next March, and that permanently ends or stays bad, if you will, next March, I think there's a need to understand here that whatever thing is leaving your life or is not working out for you right now is not meant for the next journey of your life. It's not meant for the next chapter. You know, if there's something that you don't want, if that's you happening at this time, there's a need to trust a higher power. Again, with the lunar eclipse sextile Neptune and Pisces, to trust that it's just not meant for me. Because I do believe that for a lot of you, this is the final cut. You know, I do believe that for a lot of you, this is the final cut, that this full moon lunar eclipse is the final cut of cutting out a lot of things in life that aren't meant for a new journey and that aren't meant to go forward and that God and Spirit doesn't have for you. And I also believe too that these next few weeks are the final cut of bringing a lot of things in. You know, not that you can't bring new things into your life like in the months after this, especially as Jupiter moves into Aries at the beginning of next year, but they're just going to be different. You know, the new things that we bring into our lives now are going to be more foundational and more core and are going to be worked out in a more solid way, especially if you're doing them more slowly. Okay. So I think there's a lot of that going on too. Okay. This is like one of the final shifting of the tides of like bringing things into your life that you want for the next chapter and releasing things that aren't. And not only is this the final shifting of the tides, but it's the final shifting of the tides in a more realistic way that can actually work. Sometimes you want, you know, sometimes we want things that are workable, and sometimes we want things that aren't workable. And I think this is us coming to terms with that. You know, it's us coming to terms with the fact that like, I want a relationship and I can make one work and this one can work and we can get it together, and I want a job and this is how I'm going to make it work. Or I want to work for myself and this is how I'm going to make it happen. And there are others of you who are like, I really want this relationship, but we just can't make it work, right? We just can't make it work at this time. I really want this job. I just can't make it work. And that's what you're going to realize over the next 6 months with the Venus retrograde. Is it workable? Is it not? And the things that are workable are going to work for a long time. And the things that aren't workable are going to fade away. So I think that's that. Anything else that I want to mention? What's workable? Sorry, I just felt like I had a thought that kind of left me. Yeah, this is the shifting of the tides, and it's going to take another, I want to say another, it's just going to take us another 4 or 5 months in order to get clear on what's coming and what's staying. And maybe that's the real point, you know, of this. I've said a lot of things in this video so far, and sorry, I've repeated a lot. But I think maybe that's the real point. The real point of this full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus is not what's going and what's staying. Like, that's not the point. The point is not to know the answer, you know, come next March, what's going to be in my life and what's going to leave, and is this going to work and is this not? The point is not that. The point is to do the real work of seeing if it can stay and seeing if it can work and of making that occur in order for it to move forward. So I hope that helps, because I do think there might be some of you out there who are watching who have situations going on in your life that are like, something really great happened to me. Is it going to last the test of time, or is this a joke? Is this a joke? Is this just a mirage? And I think there are some of you that are the opposite, that are like, something really bad happened to me. Is this going to be permanent, or is this also just a joke? And I think the message is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And you aren't going to know. You aren't going to know until next February or March. That's my answer to you. And this full moon lunar eclipse is not about knowing. This full moon lunar eclipse is not about knowing, is this going to work or is this not going to work? This full moon lunar eclipse is just about getting the approach correct, is getting the approach to correct to whatever change is going on in your life, so that you can actually see in the real world if something resonates with your values and can come together, so that you can actually see not if you want this and what you want, but if it actually can work to move you forward. That's going to make the big difference. Okay, sorry, I feel like there's like something I didn't say or or need to say, and I definitely feel like there's a lot of things I could have said better. But I think that's all I have for now. So I'm just going to move on to look at your inside degrees. Okay, the inside degrees are not written by me. They're written by someone else who channeled each of the inside degrees, the meanings of them from spirit. I actually liked all of them for this one, for this full moon lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse is at 27 degrees, but I like 26, 27, and 28. So I think we're going to read those. All of them really quickly. We've got 26. This is supposed to give more information about the eclipse and how it might play out. It says this: the inward image and outward reflection are worlds apart, building up inside to a state of being that carries immense challenges. You see your own personal nature as an objective universal force to be reckoned with, but persist in seeing egocentrically. So what this means to me is that at this time, we are trying to make changes here in our lives so that the external can match the internal, and we can complete some new chapter moving forward. And we are believing in our ability more to be in a new chapter of life and to experience it. But I think we're still being tripped up by our own ego and by our own ideas of how things should be and of what's happened in the past and of what's going on. That's bringing a lot of challenges here and preventing us from working with these situations effectively, and making us feel like there's a dead end. There's a dead end when really it's not. When really there are ways to figure some of this stuff out. Okay. Then we get the next degree, Taurus 27. It says, making a great deal of something out of almost nothing is the mark of fantasy or uninhibited imagination. What this means to me is that because we're realizing that like the external doesn't quite match the internal, but it's so close to actually doing that to set up a new chapter in life. And because we are still kind of stuck in the ego here and in old conceptions and ideas and having challenges, I think we're making something out of nothing, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, there is actually a lot of important things going on right now, but they're not as scary as they might feel. There is a way to work with it. So we're kind of blowing these things out of proportion, I think, is how I feel about that. And this degree is saying here, 27 degrees, we need to make them basic, simple, and ordinary. Because when you think of something as massive and huge and significant and scary, it creates all these weird responses. So it's like, there's a need to calm down with what you're doing and see it in a basic and simple way and more of an ordinary way so that you don't overdo it. Okay. And if you can turn things into basic, simple, and ordinary, and whatever the situation needs, it says you can turn these situations into what they originally were or into something that's more powerful. You can experience an alchemy of sorts to tackle long-standing knots and obstacles of every kind and to turn them around. But in order to do it, we kind of have to stay under in the confusion while slightly peeking over the top to see it. And to play and to be a straight shooter, to play it straight as can be. So do you see that, how these degrees have kind of worked out? 26 is stressful, okay? There's a lot of things going on inside and outside me, and they're all crazy and changing, and now I'm in my ego and stuck by old ideas of the way things should be and all of that, and now things are challenging, and now I'm making a bigger deal out of something that I can work with, and now I'm all to extremes. And then all of a sudden we calm down, basic, simple, ordinary approach, focusing on our core values, our needs, the simple things, and that then helps us to turn these hard events into something better. Not all, and to alchemize them, not all at once, but to slowly do it over the course of the next few months, especially if we can keep this approach. And then we get the next and the last degree, Taurus 28. It says, the sweetness is in the returning to those sacred places always known and now being at ease there. The natural man strips away false layers and finds somebody underneath who is poignantly familiar and resonantly true. So what that means to me is that if we can stop with the frustrations and just focus on the small, simple, basic things that the situation needs, I think that's going to help us to be at ease in our lives and to get in touch with who we really are. And to awaken, something within our soul that has been lost for a while that we've been trying to revive so that we can be more of a vital human being, or so that we can feel more alive, with Taurus also having to do with life and fertility as well. So that's what I'll say there. I hope that makes sense. A lot going on here, a lot of big, massive changes in life at this time, that we need to slow down, calm down, stop forcing things, stand in our values and our power, and hold true to our values and our power in order to approach. And us doing things in this different way is then going to help us to not get the answers all at once. It's still going to take another 5 to 6 months to know what's coming and what's going and what's staying. But it's going to help us to feel more at peace with the process and to build things in a more real and workable way, so that this new chapter in life can actually last and actually be seen in the way that we need, that's best for us to create something, more sustainable from here on out. Now, your card for this time period is the Ace of Cups upright. What do we have at the bottom of the deck? The Six of Pentacles reversed. This is the Moon Baby Tarot, by the way. What is this about? I'm going to start with the Six of Pentacles. To me, the Six of Pentacles is about an imbalance here. An imbalance in relationships could be, and also in money, where you feel like something just hasn't been paying off entirely. Maybe things are kind of coming together, but haven't entirely been coming together. And I think that this full moon lunar eclipse is going to help to bring things more fully together in the way that it is that we need in order to experience new feelings. Aces are about new things, new feelings, cups, and new experiences, and embrace different chapters of life. Now, is it going to happen all at once? Again, it's going to take the time, the 4, 5, 6 months. So it's not going to happen all at once, but this is the turning point when it starts to happen. This full moon lunar eclipse is when finally imbalances and unfairnesses from your past and injustices and things that have been half there but not there, and kind of been working but not been working. It's when all of that is going to be figured out. Going to help all of that be figured out, so that something more pure and more true and to your heart and to your soul and what's important to you can be born and move you forward. Because another thought that this brings to me with the half and half, another thing that this means to me is that I do feel a lot of you have had situations over the course of the past few months that have been half and half. Are we in a relationship? Are we not? Are we going to make this work? Are we not? Is this job for me? Is it not? And I feel like these cards are saying that if that's you, it's going to help you get that clarity over the course of the next 4, 5, 6 months. The clarity, yes, firm yes. The clarity, firm no. It's going to help to bring that together, because I think in my earlier example in this video, I gave examples of people who may have good unexpected events that may do maybe new things, and bad unexpected events that may be like endings of old things. But I wanted to clarify that some of you could have unexpected events that have to do with things you've been uncertain on for a while, and this is going to bring, not all at once, this is going to bring the certainty that you need to finally close the door on old things and open the door to something else come next March and April. So that's it. I hope that was clear for you. If it wasn't, you can always write comments down below for me to address in the live stream that I'll be doing on Instagram on Friday. So thank you so much. Good luck out there. I hope you make this the best that you can be. And I will talk to you on my next video. If you like this, please like it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. Thanks.